I'm Opa, and this is Opa's Place. Some of the things we discuss on my videos may be a little controversial. Some of them you're going to agree with, some of them you're not going to agree with. But my hope is that my videos will make you think and apply critical thinking in forming your opinions and looking at the facts a little bit different that you might look at them otherwise. I was going to do my video mainly on ethanol and putting corn in gas, which ties in with climate change or global warming or whatever they want to call it. And then this hurricane that came up through this weekend, this past weekend, came up through Florida, Georgia, Carolinas, Tennessee, caused a lot of problems. People up there having a really hard time. If you'll go to YouTube and look at the videos there, you'll get a lot better idea of what's going on up there than you will if you're watching just the regular news. Because the people on the ground up there are making videos. They're actually there talking to people, telling you what's going on, versus the news people have a way of swaying their opinions sometimes. There's a lot going on up there as far as thought process of why all this happened, why it's happening now, why the federal government is not helping any more than they're helping. Go watch the videos. You'll see more about that. There's a lot about BlackRock, about lithium mines and mining rights in that area, and people talking about things that years ago you would have thought, man, these people are crazy. But if you'll do a little research on it, they may not be as crazy as what it sounds like. That the government can kind of sway the weather and make it rain here, make it rain there, or control things. It's unreal when you start reading about this stuff, even reading the government documents. But you got to be careful about that, and just don't fall for gimmicks or anything. But a lot of stuff a few years ago, if you saw it, you'd say, "Oh man, there ain't no way, man, tinfoil hat people." But yeah, I don't doubt anything now as far as the government's concerned, especially when it comes to money. You got to follow the money. Um, Let me just say up front, I believe in climate change. Um, I believe the climate's probably been changing since the Earth was rotating on its axis and orbiting around the sun. Uh, Man-made climate change is a totally different story. They draw you into that. They leave out the man-made, and they just want to talk about, oh man, you don't believe in climate change? I believe the climate changes all the time. The problem with what they use for climate change, though, is weather has only really been documented since the mid 1800s. Uh, the first documented hurricane was actually in the early 1800s. They hadn't been recording temperatures until the mid 1800s, like we said on another one of our videos. So a lot of what they do is just wags and swags. If you're not familiar with those terms, a wag is a wild ass guess, and a swag is a scientific wild ass guess. And there ain't a whole lot of difference in either one of them. The scientific one's supposed to be a little more accurate because they apply a little bit of science to it. But sometimes you wonder if it's more accurate or less accurate than just guessing at things. Um, the internal combustion engine and the coal power plants is what they're blaming climate change on, global warming, whatever you want to call it. That's what they blame. That's the main thing they blame on, is putting CO2 gas, and that's another totally different story. We didn't do a whole video just on climate change, but you had these hurricanes, like I just said, early 1800s, and there wasn't a coal power plant at the time, and there wasn't any internal combustion engines at the time. You still had these bad hurricanes. So they've been happening the whole history. It's just a cycle. I don't think cars and SUVs and coal power plants have a lot to do with it. Trees breathe in CO2, breathe out oxygen. We breathe in oxygen, breathe out CO2. If they're trying to do away with CO2, looks to me like that's going to hurt the greenery and the plants and the trees, which is going to eventually hurt us. I can't figure out what they're doing with all this. Um, Corn in the gas, ethanol. if you've gone to the gas station and you fill your car up and you drive to work or you go on vacation, and sometimes you get 20 miles to the gallon, sometimes you get 18 miles to the gallon, sometimes you get 22 miles to the gallon, it may be more than just your driving habits and what you're doing. If you look on the pump when you get your gas, it says up to 10% ethanol. So you may be getting 1%, you may be getting 5%, you may be getting 10%, you may be getting more than 10%. It's the government controlling this stuff. And the more ethanol you got in the gas, from what my experience is, in my opinion, and what we've tested in our car and truck, is you put it pretty much goes along with the percentage of ethanol, what your fuel mileage is going to drop. If you got 5% ethanol in the gas, you're going to get about 5% less fuel mileage, which means you're still burning the same amount of gasoline that you would to go the same distance if you didn't have the corn in the gas. So, and if you look on the internet, a lot of people's catching on to this. A lot of scientists now saying, "Oh, I think ethanol might be worse for the environment than not putting ethanol in the gas." Because here's the problem: it takes tractors to cultivate the land. They burn diesel fuel, put out CO2. It takes tractors to plant, and to harvest. So you've got all of this added in to what it would normally be just sending the oil to the refinery and producing gasoline. So I just think it's a big hoax. Follow the money. Farmers, the big farmers that grow all this corn for ethanol, they're getting subsidies from the government, and I think you follow the money. I think it's a big hoax. Um, I really do, and plus it ruins you've got computers on your cars now, so it's not as bad. They figured out ways to measure the heat of the exhaust and how much, and they can kind of control the flow of the gas, and it really helps out a little bit. But think about your lawnmower. I remember the time when you could take your lawnmower, you could cut your grass all summer. At the end of the summer, you push your lawnmower behind the house. You get it out next year. You didn't do nothing to it. You just put it behind the house. You get it out next summer. You put a little fuel in it. You pull the rope. You crank it. It cranks. You cut grass all summer. This went on year after year after year. You didn't have that much trouble with them. The engine would burn. It would just wear completely out before you started having trouble with it. Now, if you do that, you have to have this sucker in the shop every year or two to have the carburetor rebuilt or replaced because it gets all this crap in it from the corn being in the gas. Now I'm gonna give you a hint. I'm gonna give you something you can do. If you've got this is back before lawnmowers cost $5,000 that all this was going on. But if you take your lawnmower and if it's got a carburetor that bolts directly to the top of the gas tank, this won't do anything for you because the bowl for the carburetor is actually in the gas tank. But if you've got an engine on a generator or a zero turn or whatever, where it's got the carburetor over here and you've got the gas line running from the fuel tank to the carburetor. If you don't have a shutoff on the gas tank, you need to cut that fuel line, go on Amazon, get you a shutoff valve to put in line between the gas tank and the carburetor. And you need to get you a fuel filter to put between the shutoff valve and the gas tank. And every time you shut the engine off, don't turn the ignition off. Close that valve and let it run out of gas. It gets the gas out of the bowl of the carburetor. You're still running corn through the carburetor, so you're still going to have some trouble, but not near as much trouble out of your carburetor and your engine if you let it run out of gas. Then when you get ready to go cut grass again or crank your generator up, you open up that valve, you crank it up, you cut your grass, and then again you shut the valve off, let it run out of gas, and you won't have near the trouble out of your engines that you do now. Uh, they keep talking about the ocean's going to rise. Uh, Anybody that knows anything about Florida and South Georgia and other coastal areas, South Georgia and Florida used to be underwater completely anyway. Before we had cars and coal power plants and internal combustion engines, you can find shark's teeth over in the middle of the state. So that at one time they were underwater anyway. So I don't think it's the SUVs and the coal power plants that's causing the climate change. And I don't think we've really got to worry about it because, again, you follow the money. Banks loan people money to build condominiums and houses on the ocean. If the bank thought we was in danger of the ocean coming up and wiping them out, do you think they would be loaning these people millions of dollars to build this stuff on the ocean? I don't think so. They'd say, no, man, it's too big a risk. We ain't going to do that because the ocean's going to come up and wash it all away. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say about the corn and the gas. It's a bad deal. Do a little research on it, and you'll find out. Um, buy a copy of my book. Email me at opod@opadsplace.com. I'll get you a hard copy of the book. You can buy a digital copy of it on Amazon or Kindle. I can get you a hard copy if you'll email me that's personalized, that's got your name on it, or the person you're giving the book to got their name on it. But we got to start. Everybody's got to start thinking for themselves. This election coming. We're in a bad spot. Next 4 or 5 weeks is going to be really telling us to where we're at as a country, and whether we're going to be able to save the Union and the Constitution, as far as I'm concerned, because there's one side that's just bound and determined to destroy it. So until next time, I think I'm gonna try next time to do a video on affordable housing. I hear people keep hollering about affordable housing, and the business that I've been in most of my life, I can tell you a little bit. I can make some intelligent comments about affordable housing, and we'll talk about that next time. So until then, I hope those people, think about those people, think about them, have many prayers. People up in Tennessee, and I mean they've lost their house, they've lost their. Go watch it. Their whole life got washed away, as far as any possessions that they had, and the whole place up there is a total wreck. It's going to take a while to get it back in good condition. So until next time, y'all have a good evening. Thank you.